Hey guys, Frank Spear back with you for a very brief video today for another episode here of Watch This. There are those who teach that in the first century, the church was expecting a literal rapture off the planet. Whether visible or invisible, okay, none of that really matters for our purpose today. But there are those who teach that this first century church was awaiting in AD 70 for that all to go down and for the new kingdom to be instituted, so they would be taken off the planet and brought into an invisible heavenly realm where that kingdom would exist. The doors would be shut, no one could enter ever after. Whether you die and you enter it, no. Or there's no kingdom on earth to live in. That was for Israel only. They entered the kingdom in AD 70 in an invisible realm. They were taken off the planet, literally. They disappeared. The problem I have with that is that it's not biblical. And here's a single passage. We've looked at others in videos I've done before, but here's a single passage that I think puts the nail in the coffin. Turn with me, if you would, to 1 Timothy chapter 5. Now, the latest scholarship is that 1 Timothy was written in the mid-60s. Now, the Jewish-Roman War, which brought about the whole deal of AD 70, the last days, for Israel, that began in AD 66 and ended in AD 70. Okay, so this is written in the mid-60s. So either the war had already started or was just about to start. And Jesus told his disciples, when you see the Roman army surrounding Jerusalem, know that this is it. The time is short. Get ready. Flee to the mountains, because your salvation, your redemption, your rescue, your coming into the new kingdom is very near. So this would have been extremely near at the time Paul is writing to Timothy. And Paul would have known that, right? He would have known that what was going down, what was about to go down. Certainly better than we know it. But watch this. 1 Timothy chapter 5. The context here, Paul is talking about the church and the church polity, if you will, the organization of the church, its leaders, elders, so forth. And here in chapter 5, he comes to discussing widows and how the church is to take care of the widows and how the widows ought to live. Tells them not to be idle, not to be gossips, so forth and so on. He talk about a widow's list for charity, which widows are allowed to be put on the list, which shouldn't be put on the list, and why. And now come over here to verse 14 of 1 Timothy chapter 5. Therefore, I want younger widows to get married, to bear children, to keep house, and give the enemy no occasion for reproach. Now, the enemies here are the apostate Jews, the Judaizers, those who are still living under the system of Judaism. But that's not the crux of the matter here. The crux of the matter is Paul, in the last of the last days, when they should be getting literally raptured off the planet, is telling them that he wants widows to go ahead and get married. Their husbands had died. He says, I want them to get married again. And I want them to have children. And I want them to raise those children, to keep house. Well, this doesn't sound at all like Paul is gearing up for them to be taken off the planet, does it? No, because he was never teaching any such thing. He was never teaching any such thing. Shouldn't Paul have been writing, forget about the widows' lists and all that, and getting married and having children and keeping house. We're going to be gone soon. We're going to be off in an invisible realm, eternally enjoying God in a literal heaven somewhere. No need for marriage or for childbearing or for keeping house. Folks, there it is. I don't see any way around that. Now, I'm sure the literal rapture theorists will come up with something, but I mean, you've got to do some serious dancing to get around that passage. And I say that with all due respect, because for a long time I held a literal rapture view growing up in the church. So I can understand how you can see it, but that's not what's happening. That's not what happened. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Paul expected them to be around for a long time after AD 70. See you next time.